Greetings once again, everybody. Here we are in the season of the moon, and the reason I say that is because the sun is in the sign of Cancer, ruled by that lunar orb. Now, I haven't been on in a while because I was on a 2-week road trip down to Phoenix and Southern California. And I just got home and I spent this week essentially catching up, if you will, with the verdant growth from all the moisture that we have here in the Northwest and have had. We've had, off and on sprinkles, rain. This morning it's 60 degrees right now. There's a high fog and a light mist falling. They say it's supposed to reach 70 degrees today. We'll see. Anyway, season of the moon. How many things could we look at as far as Cancer? Because the last time I talked to you, we were doing the Gemini dance. But we're doing the Cancer dance right now. Cancer, the healer, the protector, the mother, nurturer, cook, and the counselor. Those are some of the words that fit into that Cancerian quality, but if you really look at the chart, I'm not going to show the chart right now. Cancer sits down at the very bottom of that Thema Mundi chart, and at least the version that I use. And the very bottom of the chart, this is our roots. This is the foundation upon which life itself actually revolves. And, do you think that we could actually do the life dance without the mother? No, I don't think so. Very, very significant. But as well, there is an energetic, we'll put it that way, connection to our ancestors that has, a very strong Cancerian rootedness. So at this time of year, here in the Northern Hemisphere, ostensibly summer is beginning. They say on a regular basis here in the state of Washington where I live that summer doesn't arrive till after July 5th. Well, we aren't quite there yet, but at the end of this next week, yeah, July 5th is coming. I don't have that calendar opened up yet. We're on the last day of June right now. Anyway, I can't commiserate with you guys enough who are living in the hot zones of the United States because we just don't have it here in the Northwest. Mind you, it's not a complaint for us Northwesterners, except for maybe some. So over these last couple weeks while I was journeying, on the road journeying, the experience of Mercury and Venus being out of bounds was taking place. And out of bounds has a certain wild quality about it, an unpredictability, almost a Uranian flavor. And if you consider this began while both were in the sign of Gemini, ruled by that Mercury, the curiosity level was kicked up. And Venus also being in Gemini, you could say that the curiosity experience of what does partnership represent to you? Or at the same time, you could expand that just a wee bit further and say, who in my circle of friends might I be more or less inclined to engage with in this partnership dance? After all, Venus was out of bounds too. The energy of, Gemini percolating, saying, I feel restless. You can almost feel that kind of energy. Well, both of these planets, Mercury and Venus, went into Cancer. while still out of bounds. As a matter of fact, they just came in bounds near the end of this last week. And to add, some extra juice into the mix, as they were coming back in bounds, Saturn decides, well, I'm going to station and go retrograde. So there's another kind of energy that's in play. Saturn in Pisces going retrograde. And this week, Neptune is also going to go retrograde. It is as well in Pisces. And I got to thinking, Saturn, life lessons. Neptune, having a real strong affinity with that sign of Pisces. What if I were to, really try and pigeonhole, and I think that's an inappropriate term to use, the experience of Pisces is, here's the mystic and the poet and, that visionary artist, musician, psychic, navigator. Well, Pisces has to do with the process of, kind of touching into the depths, if you will, of what does spirit mean, or what is the spiritual adventure potential that that particular region of space is asking us to contemplate. So you put Saturn, the life lesson planet, in Pisces, and Neptune, the capacity to dream, to utilize our imagination in creative ways that we don't generally, tune into on a regular basis. Well, Neptune's going through Pisces now. The degree that it goes retrograde at, 29 degrees and 55 minutes of Pisces, but not quite Aries. It's going to go back retrograde. And then Saturn's doing the retrograde also, right? Going to be doing this right now as we go into this week. And I was thinking to myself, when was the last time that Saturn and Neptune were in Pisces together? Because Neptune takes 165 years to go around the zodiac. Saturn, 30-ish years. And so I started going back through time, 165 years at a hop, and looking for when is that Saturn Neptune dance within the sign of Pisces. When did it transpire last? Well, guess what? It was in the year 375. So not that recent. And you think about what the heck was going on in 375. Here we were in the throes, if you will, or the organizing phase of the Christian movement to really set its hooks into mankind, back in Constantinople time and stuff. So that's the kind of energy that was in play. And you have to ask yourself now, is there the possibility that there might be something that is trying to get our attention, if you will, about a different or a unique version of this spiritual dance that has come around for us to contemplate? Many of us have sensed this for a while now. And this Saturn Neptune dance in Pisces is really asking us to do some deep dive into what is it about the myth of living that we could see as potentially uniquely relevant to the times that we live in, that could set down a footprint that has longevity to it, and will remove us into a uniquely new version of what it means to be spiritual. I think of myth as a kind of a myth is like a route into your own story, and then taking that myth and then living it out into the world. Are you comfortable with the version of your myth right now that you are willing to live it in your everyday moments without concern for what other people think? Perhaps, mind you, perhaps there is a inkling of soul awareness that is trying to awaken you at this current time to the reason why you incarnated, why we all incarnated at this particular juncture in history, to, consider something different as a potential for how is it that we as human beings might get along a little bit more effectively with one another. I mean, the capitalist or the communist or whatever current systems that have been in place for a while, they're just not panning out as, even remotely beneficial to the majority of humans. A few people are doing very well with it at the cost of the majority of us, just eking out a survival existence. This is, not exactly what I sense is why we as soul incarnate beings are present with one another to do this earth walk dance. Let's take a look at the chart. So here we are, Monday, can't trust that day. Yeah, well. Let's remember, we're in Cancer, so the moon. We just had our last quarter moon yesterday on, Friday, I guess. Time flies. And the moon is moving its way through Taurus. Happy, it's exalted in Taurus, so it's happy. It's doing the dance on Monday with Mars, So the energy is kind of like perhaps kicked up a little bit, with the potential for 10 degrees later on the later part of that day, holding hands with your Uranus, saying, are you prepared for something unexpected to take place? And you even just saying that, being prepared for the unexpected. I don't know what it's going to be. How can I prepare for it? Aha, it is possible to have your ducks in a row in such a fashion that as those events and experiences transpire in your world that you don't know what part of left field they're coming out of, you go, oh, okay, that's what's going on. This is what I need to work with. And, my ducks are kind of going, quack, quack, quack. We all want to do the dance too. And so we line up in a new format to be able to embrace something that we hadn't anticipated. I suspect, this is just my own suspicion, that by having those capacities to realign our focus in those moments when things shift in that drastic or creative a process, we are not only inspired, but we inspire the larger perspective of soul awareness that we are a part of to pay attention. There's something that is transpiring there on earth that soul says, hey, we ought to pay attention to that. There's something going on down there that is, It's relevant to the growth of what it is that we represent. Anyway, enough on Monday. Tuesday comes, well, things shift. Remember, we're in a lunar thing? Let's go look at our declinations. On Tuesday, the moon goes out of bounds. Yeah. We had the Mercury, Venus going out of bounds and the moon during that same part of the cycle for a, it's every other week dance. Well, the moon going out of bounds on Tuesday, a Mars day, which it just was dancing with the day before, says that, my feelings, if you think of the lunar equivalent, are, they're feeling, potentially a little edgy right now. Might there be some unpredictability factors in where my feelings are going to lead me? Oh, yeah, it's possible. It's in Taurus, but you can see just barely 29 degrees, 31 minutes. It's about to jump into Gemini. Out of bounds moon going into Gemini, the creativity of, curiosity. Always a good idea to keep in mind that when that transpires, the trickster could be on board. After all, Gemini is the realm of the trickster. Wile E. Coyote, the roadrunner, the fox. What other versions of Mercury and Gemini might say, where exactly is this curiosity tool going to lead me this time? Yeah, it's a dance, and you will notice that on this day, beginning at 29 degrees of Taurus, we jump into Gemini. The moon hooks up with Jupiter right away, saying, don't think small. And I use think very specifically because we're talking Gemini, the thinker, trying to facilitate a way to manipulate words, if you will, into a format that can, spontaneously inspire my creative juices. And the moon out of bounds, holding hands with Jupiter on this Tuesday, don't try to hold yourself short of the potential that is trying to get your attention. What else? Oh, yeah. And on this same day, Mercury, by the way, the ruler of this Gemini, just goes into Leo, saying, the Leo ruled by the sun. Magnanimous energy. That energy uptick in how we might utilize our creative tool, Mercury, in the field of Leo. How can I take chances that, remember, moon conjunct Jupiter in Gemini? Mercury going into Leo says, how can I take chances that aren't going to be too small? Feel that energy, Leo is the type of energy, the lion, liking to make an impression, get on stage and do a performance kind of thing. So this Mercury going into Leo, not a small factor. Being inspired by that out of bounds moon, stay tuned. There is an energy afoot that, if you happen to catch an inkling, glance at it. Be alive enough within yourself to take a chance, say something to someone that you might not necessarily be inclined to, and prepare yourself for the response. That response, remember, out of bounds moon, it's, are you alive and awake enough to be able to get your ducks happily in line with something new that you hadn't anticipated? This is the possibility. And on this same day, because Mercury's moving actually pretty quick right now. Let's see the speed of Mercury. Yeah, almost 2 degrees a day. 1 degree, 1 3/4 degree a day. So Mercury's moving quick, which means that during this day, Mercury is going to oppose Pluto over here in Aquarius retrograde. There's an energetic footprint that this particular opposition, which is going to pass by relatively quickly, is might, if you catch hold of it, ask you to really pay attention to factors that may be surfacing, trying to get your attention about stuff that, wasn't overtly, in your thoughts. Stuff that may have been hidden from you is seeking audience. This Mercury opposed to Pluto across that Aquarius Leo accent. Is there a group substance that might be stimulated by this? That's up to you to make that determination, but it is in the offering if you pay attention. Oh my, well, Tuesday. Let's go on and see what else is going on this week. Well, we got our moon out of bounds. Moon is dancing. Oh, that's right. When we get to Friday, we have a new moon here at 14 degrees of Cancer. New moon, the dark of the moon. And here's an energy quotient. The moon's energy revitalizing its process of, really charging up its batteries for its next lunar cyclic dance. Here in its own sign of Cancer, pay attention to family. Pay attention to, might there be energies and, some kind of beckoning from your ancestors to participate at a level that you don't normally tune into, that this particular new moon is asking, begging you to, go deeper. Ask your ancestors questions. They will respond if you do it appropriately. This is a magical time. This particular new moon is saying, what do I set my intentions for? How tuned in am I to home and family? And how far reaching is that version of home and family really tapped into what it is that this particular life dance is about? That sets up, remember, the moon is still out of bounds, the energy for the weekend. Well, tomorrow, let's say the 6th, Saturday, the moon's going to go back inbounds. But the inspiration for the weekend arrives on that new moon out of bounds in Cancer, saying, is it likely that I should, maybe do some homework for this particular new moon? I pause there so that you can think into that. Are there factors that need potential realignment within my home environment? Let's see. I don't need to really necessarily go through the weekend. The moon moves from Cancer, goes into Leo's, holding hands with Mercury at the end of the week, and come back in bounds. And since Mercury's moving quick, never quite as quick as the moon, this Sunday query could still hold, some of that Cancerian concern for our abilities and our connection to what it means to be tuned into a level of home, Mother Earth, that always, always, always asks for our attention. Are we paying attention to it? Lord knows this last week I have done mowing and weed eating and gardening up the yin yang to try and, catch up with the abundant verdant growth that took place during the 2 weeks of my wife's and my trip. It's good to be home. The bunny is happy as all get out, bouncing around, eating clover, and just having a good time. And I'm going to let this go for this week. And we will catch you all next week. I'm in the process of trying to come up with a reformatting of my website at the moment. You never run out of things to do if you're really paying attention. And that's where my focus is right now, seeing, is there another format that I can use that might be just a wee bit more effective than the one that I've had in place for 10 years, maybe a little longer. Anyway, ciao for now. Out of bounds things are in play still this week. And that Saturn Neptune question. Am I spiritually in touch with what it is that my soul intends me to accomplish during this earth walk? Do the work, my friends. See you all next week.